Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back, everybody. We're glad you're here. We really enjoy spending time with you every morning at 7:30 a.m. My name is Marvin Kaine, and I am your host as we talk about all things relationship wise with a specific twist on age gap relationships. So that's the rendezvous we'll take on this morning. That's our journey. That's where we'll be. That's our discussion because it's fascinating. But the topic today, a little challenging because it's how to overcome challenges within an age gap relationship. But before we jump into this, you know, about 90% of our clients, people who watch our videos, they're not subscribers. So we would really like to see that number come down to about 50%. So if you're watching this video, please subscribe to the channel. We've got close to 700 over actually now over 700 videos on our channel, which just give a diverse bank of information. It's a power. And like we always tell you, we don't have all the answers on this channel, but we just kind of guide you through some of the thoughts that come up that a lot of people deal with. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and let's spread some love. Now, age to some people is a number. And when it comes to age gap relationships, if you think it's a number, you already have a problem. And this is from the mindset of someone who actually targeted, and I'm coming from the perspective of an older man. I'm 55 years old at this recording. But coming from the perspective of an older man, if I were to target a woman just because of her age, which we do not recommend that on this channel. This channel is about people who just fall in love with someone that they have things in common with someone that they really, really like, not about the age or the physical appearance. More substantive things is what we talk about and delve into. But if a man at my age, 55, is dating a woman because she's 25, dating a woman because she's 29, dating a woman because she's 40, see, age is not just a number. It means something more to him. I mean, age is a mile marker. That's really all it is. It just can give you an idea of things that have been accomplished along the way, but it never tells the complete story about the person. So age gap relationships can thrive when both partners have shared values, life goals, similar interests rather than dwelling on age difference. Back in my day, we used to do it this way. Nobody wants to hear that. Try that even with younger people, like your children. They don't want to hear those stories. They get tired of them. You told them a million times. Why would your partner or anybody else be interested in that? They don't. So if both partners are passionate, for an example, about traveling, then they can use their common interest to strengthen their connection. Like, do you want to travel to a place that you don't speak the language and you have to figure it out? I mean, fortunately, with Americans, we know that a great percentage of the population in the world, they speak English. You can always find somebody that speaks English or Spanish basically anywhere in the world. But some people want to travel like that. I mean, I remember I traveled to a foreign place and I did not speak the local language. Now, there was a fair share of people who did speak English, but in reality, it was overwhelming for me. So if it was overwhelming, it kind of creates some agitation amongst the people that you're with. But in my case, I'm kind of cool, relaxed. It didn't. But I've seen cases where other people were with us and they didn't speak the language and it just became frustrating to me. I put myself in that situation. So that's why we're saying using traveling as an example. If that's your passion, then have a discussion with your partner about where you want to travel. Do you want to travel within the United States? If you travel abroad, do you want to travel places where there's more English? Maybe your partner speaks a foreign language. Maybe you don't, or maybe you do, and your partner doesn't. That person's going to have the weight of the responsibility of making sure your trip is a success because they can connect with the locals. So things like that. And how we get there first starts with a very strong foundation. And communication is the cornerstone. We'll say it every day because it's so important to have any type of a successful age gap relationship. So to build a strong relationship, it's not hard. It's just you have to be open and honest. When people are not open and when people are not honest about how they feel, It's like they put a wall up. They put a wall up. And this wall really makes it difficult for people to penetrate because you can't read people's minds. You cannot read another person's heart. Yeah, you can get an idea from the way they act, but you can't really tell why they feel this way. You've got to get to the other side of the wall. So that means you've got to get this person willing to talk to you. You've got to get them to trust you again. I mean, there's a lot of expectations when it comes to families. I mean, have you spoken to this younger woman about you wanting children or not wanting children? See, in some cultures, a woman not having children at a young age is an insult to her family and herself. It's embarrassing. So some women, today are very more independent outside of their cultures where they're able to rise over situations like that, but some just are not. And the only way you're going to find out what's really in her heart, gentlemen, is you got to ask the questions. And if she wants children and she's passionate about children, can you make this sacrifice for her, knowing that you'll be able to spend the least amount of time with this child and she's going to spend the greater portion because she's younger. Younger lives longer. So it's a lot of things like that, careers, goals. See, it's interesting to me that people who marry, I come from a family of law enforcement agents. So it's interesting to me of people that marry people in law enforcement, knowing that they're on duty 24 hours a day. They only get paid for 8 hours a day, but they're literally on duty 24 hours a day, and that call can come in. If you marry a cop, guess what? Cops do what cops do. There's a problem, there's a crime scene, there's an investigation that needs to take place. They go there. Okay, same is true if you marry an entrepreneur, especially a network marketer. A successful network marketer is flying all over the country. Business people, strategists, they're traveling, they're growing their business. It's not like you're second fiddle, but these are the reasons why they can give you the comfortable life that you're living with them, or they're growing towards it. So you got to have these conversations up front because maybe you don't want a person that is ambitious and wanting to be an entrepreneur and jet set and fly all over the country or do investigative work because I mean maybe you just like a couch potato. You do your little 9 to 5, you work for the post office or you do jobs that have really good schedules or you work for the government and when 5 o'clock comes or 4:30 comes if you're working for the states, then you just come on home. See, some people just want to have that life and they're not looking for anything greater than that. But see, nowadays, I think after the pandemic, a lot of people start to realize you just can't put your trust in people. You should have known this all your life, but you just can't put your trust in people. You can't put your trust in businesses. Really, you can't even trust yourself, but at least with yourself, you can become more diverse, quickly adaptable, a little more spontaneous, that you might be able to find other sources of income. So, potential challenges, they may rise due to age gaps. See, you can avoid situations or concerns becoming challenges by having conversations in the beginning because if you wait till the fire is full blown, then it takes a lot more water to put it out. So what you want to do is just like relax a little bit. Just relax, have these discussions, make a list. Don't try to go off your memory. You might forget some stuff, but write some things down. So we're overcoming challenges in age gap relationship. And one of the biggest is when it comes to judgments, societal judgments, family judgments. And why do we speak specifically about the age gap? Because here's the big thing. Most relationships are easily accepted, but when you see an older man come in with a woman who's young enough to be his daughter, or might be the same age as his daughter, or might be younger than his daughter, the support from family, the door gets closed. Boom, they're not interested. People are judgmental like that. It's cruel, it's harsh, it's a terrible thing. But now, with any other relationship, they're willing and open arm, ready to bring you into the fold, rather to give you some advice and some guidance. But when you're in an age gap relationship, a lot of family members and friends be like, you know what? You dug that hole. Now you throw the rope to get yourself out. That's how they look at it. That's so cruel because to them, age matters. That's why they're not in this relationship. So overcoming external judgment and criticism, it requires resilience. You know what? Know, realize and know this stuff in advance. This is just how people are. People are going to judge you, have some self assurance, know that this is what you want, stand up for this relationship that you're in. It's crucial to educate yourself about social circles. There's some places that are just not open. I mean, maybe, listen, you go to a restaurant, all eyes on y'all, all eyes on you. And you're going to hear expressions like, wow, it's nice to see you hanging out with the wife and kids. No, that's not what you're going to hear. You're going to hear expressions like, oh, so you're spending time. Great for you. Spending time with the daughter and her kids, your grandkids. Good day. So that's what you're going to hear. You've got to be thick skinned. You got to be like, and not quick to like snap back at people because, people are just programmed and trained the way they are based on what they've seen in their living structures of life. So you have to accept that people have a variety of opinions that just don't fit into your lifestyle. So they're not being cruel. They're just saying to you, if you take out all the adjectives, all the descriptions of age gap and daughter and grandchildren, if you take that out, basically all they said was, hey, glad to see you having a nice day. Psh, that's it. So you can overcome these challenges in advance. Even role playing and practicing these things are necessary. So when they happen, listen, you and your partner can just smile and be like, thank you, and just keep going. You don't know these people and you don't owe them any explanation. You really, really don't. So learn how to set boundaries in your mindset, places you will not go. And what I mean by that, if you know that certain parts of the country are not open to age gap relationships. Certain parts of the country are not open to mixed relationships, not just black and white. People just like to see people of the same color, people of the same ethnicity together, and they don't want to see a mixture because they're like, your people over there, our people over here, which is a crazy way to live. That's not fair either. And those things, of course, are none of anybody's business, but it's about being safe and knowing your surroundings, knowing your areas, knowing the boundaries of where you can go. I mean, there's some communities that still don't want black people to live in them. There's some communities that don't want white people to live in them. Are you going to be white and move in a black community when you know they don't want you there? Are you going to be black and move into a community where you know the white people don't want you there? I mean, listen, you've got to have a boundary. You've got to know your limitation, and you need to know these things in advance. Now, in life, everybody doesn't grow up the same. I've seen people try to do the most craziest things. So Oprah, I use her as an example because I've heard it very often. Uh, Chicago, Baltimore, she's got her history of things she's done well. Some people have tried to walk in her shoes by going to all the places that they wanted to be at or that she was at, go to the schools that she went to, make the type of friends, work in the same companies that she did, try to do the same jobs in hopes that if they follow her footsteps, it's going to lead them to some utopia, to an experience like hers, a rags to riches story. But it doesn't. And when we say this specifically about age gap relationships, they offer opportunity for growth, but there is no cookie cutter. There is no footsteps to follow. You're on your own with your partner. So younger partners bring new energy and fresh perspectives. This is how you venture in your relationships. Whereas older partners, they provide wisdom and stability. And stability, we're not talking financial always. Stability, we're talking about somebody who can make a decision and stick to it. That's all people want. Do you love me? Yes, and love you forever. Do you like my eyes? Yes, and I like them forever. I love couples like this. I love couples that have relationship stability where they still see each other like the same day they first met. They're just excited, and then they're in their 60s and 70s. It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. There's a famous movie producer who married a black woman. Man, the first day, actually, he wasn't, well, he's a producer. I'll tell you what it is. Michael Caine and his wife. You got to read their story. He saw this woman and he immediately was into her. And they got married. Look at them today. I wish I had pictures I could put up, but I don't. But go look at his story. Michael Caine, Caine, not my older brother. but this is another couple. He marries a woman that was much, much, much younger than he was. He was much older than he was. I mean, there's a huge age gap between them. They are still together after 40 years. She is amazingly beautiful. He is amazingly good looking. They are amazing, good looking people. But you know what's better than their looks? Is how they feel about each other. Listen to that story. See, that's what happens in when you're stable as an older person. See, the wisdom that we're trying to lay on you is that he still sees his wife, and she's older. She's still amazingly beautiful, but he still sees her as he saw her when he first met her. He said that. She says the same about him. And he's a lot older, and that's just how it goes. But she still sees him the same way because that's what love is. That's what love is. And one of the things, no doubt, couples like that have done is they found ways to keep the spark alive. See, to keep the spark alive, you have to prioritize your time together. See, date nights, surprises, shared hobbies, things that you do together to ignite the romance. You don't want to be boring. You don't want to be complacent. You want to be open. See, you come from two different generations, yes, but there are things you can still learn from her as a younger woman, and there are things you can still learn from him as an older man, or that you might find interesting. I mean, it was funny because I remember my daughter. This happened about maybe 12 years ago. She was in the house, and I think we were packing some things or moving some things around in the room, and she saw an old cassette, like the little cassettes that you put in the cassette players, and she's like, "What is this?" And I told her, says, that's a cassette. It's shocking to me that she asked because to me it's natural because I grew up in an era where we use those things. She come up in an era where there's DVDs and CD-ROMs, and now they're like these little mini things that you just plug in to your computers. Things like this. Brain's going dead, so I can't really remember. Things like this and USB drives, we call them. She comes from that world. So when she saw this little cassette, she's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, we used to play music." I said, "We still do. We record and play music off of these little devices." And she just thought that was so funny. She's like, "Wow, wow," because this makes a lot more sense. And now this is a large one. They make them a lot smaller. And then you got little wafer chips. It's amazing. All right. So communication, it builds up the intimacy. A lot of times people talk about making love. Making love is not sexual. Making love, being intimate with your partner, is something that happens when you're working together on projects to ignite and to reignite and to ignite again the romance. So both partners will find some type of fulfillment in that. And that's how you go through your day. And then you have a balanced view of independence. So balancing independence in an age gap relationship simply means encouraging personal growth. The way you met the individual, I'm telling you, the beauty of a relationship is you remaining who you are, they remaining they are, and together you become something different together, but you're still an individual. And that's one of the things you want to be able to contribute in your relationship with your spouse is you want to encourage them to continue to have personal growth, and you want to continue to nurture the person that you met them to be so that person can continue to grow. You don't want that person to die. Now, far beyond this, you have issues that make this challenging, like mental illness, bipolar disorder, multiple personalities disorders, but you can still work with it if you can get your partner to work with you. Because unfortunately, in some relationships like this, the partner who has those issues, the relationship really becomes all about them. And as chaotic as they may be by going up and down because maybe they choose to take medicine, they take the wrong medicine, now they're a guinea pig, or maybe they choose not to take medicine, or they don't control the foods that they eat. All these things are rivaling one another, and they rival who you are as an independent person. So now you become something different. Now, the way we know this is because once those relationships are over, unfortunately that happens, but once those relationships are over, as studies have shown, you come back to being you. You're no longer influenced by trying to shape your life around someone who has these challenging disorders. So know your partner, know what you're getting into. Understand someone tells you that they got mental disorders or personality disorder, do some research. Don't go into these relationships blind because you become who they are. as they become you. But unfortunately, we live in a negative world where the things that bring you down are the things you become a lot easier than the things that raise you up. Always remember that. So you need to have a balance that fosters a healthy and supportive dynamic. Now, when it comes to the future, we all have a future. The beautiful thing about time is it doesn't stop. So plan for future, plan for what's essential. Age gap couples should discuss retirement. You have to, because one is closer there than the other. How long do they need to work? In some countries, they don't have retirement plans, but in the United States, we have retirement plans. Financial planning, potential for generational differences when it comes to parenting. You know, I'm old school. I come from a land where parents they tapped that booty. That's what they did. Me raising my children didn't get spanked like I got spanked as a kid. And now children today hardly get spanked. And when we look at the world, we see the challenges that the world is in because these children weren't dealt with, traditionally. And it's just looking at the history. So you got to talk about these things. You're going to spank the kids. Some modern women today, like, no, don't. That's violence. They consider that to be violence instead of discipline. Or maybe you consider it to be violence and not discipline. Some people call it corporal punishment in the family. These are the terms that they use. You have to recognize that these differences and understanding them can provide a wealth of perspective. So you might change your view because the way your spouse feels about things. See, the way you were raised, that's a perspective that needs to be understood. And it becomes an asset because now you're understanding. Is it possible that you could do something different, that you can look at things a different way? Maybe you were the child that was spanked and you turned out okay, but there are also examples of children who were never spanked. And they've got things like timeouts. And these things affect the mindset because really that's all you want to do is affect the mindset. And there have been a lot of people who've been greatly successful. So spare the rod, spare the child. Hey, do as you please, but talk to your partner about it. So this has been great. And we hope if you have questions or concerns that you will put them in the comments. So leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm looking out my window. It's another beautiful day here in sunny Puerto Rico with hot temperatures to be expected. But it's October now. So we back into those cool days. I mean, I love winters here on the island. It's just incredibly beautiful. Beautiful. Inviting for an age gap relationship. So, in this wrap up of today's discussion about overcoming challenges in age gap relationships, remember, love has no boundaries. So we want you to join us tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. as we delve into this is going to be interesting. Unleashing the power of modern day women in an age gap relationship. Did you hear that? Unleashing the power. Yes, the power of women, of a modern woman in an age gap relationship. So we want to thank you for tuning in, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and to comment below with your thoughts and your experiences. We want to hear what you have to say. And if you have questions or ideas or subjects you want us to talk about, please, again, just put them in the comments. We'll be happy to oblige. And as always, stay tuned for more relationship adventures on Love is Not Judgmental. Where I am your host, I am your guide, Marvin Kaine. So until I see you the next time, continue to be good to each other and spread the love. You guys have a fantastic day. See you tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember this.